I am Sheila, your host here at the Neurodive, and I want to start as always with a shout out to all of the subscribers in the channel, especially the most recent ones. Thank you so much for supporting this community that is little by little growing and expanding. So you are incredibly appreciated. I am always going to ask of all of you to do all the good things. So smash the hearts, hit the bell, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you feel compelled, leave a tip on the Cash App. It's on the description. As you guys know, I'm a middle class worker trying to make it out here, trying to provide education to people that are neurodivergent like me or that take care of people that are neurodivergent. Today, however, we're going to talk about something a little bit different. And it's a topic that I haven't wanted to explore or discuss in the channel because it's sensitive, it's controversial, it's divisive sometimes, and this side of the channel is usually not for that. I usually reserve commentary and opinion to the shorts and like the videos. I like to leave the lives for neurodivergent topics. But this is a neurodivergent topic. Today we're going to talk about when we inflict trauma and the effect that that can have on a human being. I know a lot of people, we're used to discussing trauma from the standpoint of somebody that had a huge traumatic event. People don't realize that trauma doesn't necessarily depend on the magnitude or the perceived magnitude of the event, is how that particular person and their brain perceived the threat and the magnitude of that perceived threat to that person. So, like we always talk about when we're talking about trauma, that's why you have different responses. You have the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Those are your usual trauma responses. Let me throw it back to the chat. And we have at Case Deep. Thank you. Hello. Thank you for joining the live, and thank you for joining the channel. If you're not subscribed, do the all the good things. Hit the bell. Hit the subscribe. That way you know when we're dropping videos. Today we're talking about inflicting trauma. It is something that I haven't really explored in the channel. We have talked about trauma a lot. We have talked about generational trauma. We have talked about burnt out. We have talked about vicarious trauma, but we have never talked about what happens when a person inflicts trauma. And I think it's very important because right now in this country, we're going through that at this particular moment. I know there's several parallels throughout history. A lot of people like to draw the 1930s Germany parallel out there, and a lot of people too. That's one of the biggest questions that a lot of people ask themselves is how so many people in Germany just went along with the cruelty. But I think right now we are being witness as to how quickly that could happen. I feel we are experiencing in real time, in real life, how quickly empathy can devolve. I mean, we've gotten to a point where we have all of these Bible thumpers and mega churches, Christians trying to sell us on the fact that empathy is toxic. And that to me is like insane because I was born and raised Catholic, charismatic Catholic. I don't longer practice. I have a lot of hurt, a lot of church hurt. So I don't consider myself Catholic anymore. I consider myself spiritual, sort of like agnostic, I would say a little bit, but spiritual. If you're coming to me with good news, I'm going to receive you. As long as you're not trying to force something on me, and I will defend your right to believe in whatever you want to believe. Let me see, what do we have on the there's a message that's being held for review. Hi, Blue Rock. Hi, Krishna. Thank you so much for joining the live. My brother Safan has been talking about you a lot. I'm sure he is in the chat. Can you give him a shout out for his birthday? He is turning 14 and his name is Hugh. Hugh, hey. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Hugh. Happy birthday to you. Yay! So anyway, as you guys can see, I'm definitely neurodivergent. I'm a little off. But anyway, if it was a true birthday, shout out. Thank you for being part of the community. I love it. Thank you so much. Hi, Heather Kylie 69. Thank you for joining the live. So anyway, so let's go back to inflicting trauma. So this is something that happens fairly quickly, and it happens for various reasons, right? And we're seeing it in real time in the United States. I think we all can. Okay, let me share something about me because I don't share this very frequently. I don't share a whole lot of personal information, but I come from a family on both sides that has a lot of law enforcement and military. So, yes, I do have a bias. Believe it or not, my bias is a little bit against them because although I'm not a full-blown abolitionist, I do believe in some abolitionist tendencies. But the reason I'm bringing this up, right, me having police in my family and having having military in my family, is because a lot of people, when I talk and I have social commentary, they think I'm this radical leftist. And there's nothing further from the truth. I'm an independent. I'm sort of a moderate, I would say. Not that that thing really exists, but I'm a socialist Democrat. That's how I identify. I'm 45 years old, so I'm not super progressive, obviously. Like I said, I was born and raised Catholic in Puerto Rico. So, you know, very conservative upbringing. But I think we can all agree that countries need rules and laws and all of that. And they need controls. They need, I don't know that we need, that's probably for a longer video and a longer conversation. I don't know that we need borders per se, because I very much believe that we are citizens of the world. We are all part of the same race. We're all part of the human race. But yeah, we need laws. We need control. But it worries me that there's there is such a gray area, right, in between enforcing the law and becoming what you are allegedly fighting. And this is why I feel that law enforcement needs to be out in the field with either a crisis responder, or they need more training in de escalation and things like that. You know, is, oh my God. Truman, thank you for the compliment. Um, I don't consider myself attractive or sexy. That's just a filter. Yeah. But thank you for the compliment. Jesus Christ, you see, my ADHD starts kicking in. So anyway, so that's one of the things that I always say is like, um, a lot of the times the people that are law enforcement and that are police, who are supposed to be there to serve and protect, forget the service piece of their job, right? And it breaks my heart as a Latino woman, as a Puerto Rican born and raised, to see, and don't get me wrong, because the Frozen Gestapo is made of a lot of Latinos. There's a lot of internal hate. Same with our black brothers and sisters. There's a lot of internalized hate. So there is no such thing as reverse racism, please. As I love you guys, I love my community. Don't get me down that rabbit hole. That is an oxymoron. That is not a thing. There is no reverse racism. There can be bias, there can be negative bias and stuff like that, but there is no such thing as reverse racism. So just wanted to throw that out there. But again, what we see, right, is the people that are inflicting trauma is start devolving and dehumanizing themselves. They don't realize that they're traumatizing themselves, and they keep escalating the cruelty. And to me it makes no sense. Like, if you are enforcing your borders, and these, it has been proven that more than 80% of the people that have been detained are not criminals at all, and some of them have been here legally. Some of them are full blown citizens. But we have noticed that the vicarious trauma has created this response, this oversized response on law enforcement, on the frozen Gestapo especially, where they feel they can do things with impunity because they just don't feel them anymore. Their trauma is kicking in, so they just freeze in terms of the cognitive piece of it, in terms of recognizing that that's another human being, and that you're not going after hardened criminals. You're going after soccer moms, people inside hospitals, schools, churches. Like, it's not like you're getting, you know, Tim McVeigh, or, one of our multiple serial killers. And let's make that recognition too. I would say probably more than 90% of the serial killers in this country are white, not people of color. But again, getting back to the trauma, what happens is people start inflicting trauma that creates a moral injury. It is very difficult. That causes cognitive dissonance. I have a video on cognitive dissonance, so you might want to go check that out. But the problem is, while you inflict trauma, that creates your own personal trauma where you start devolving and detaching and dehumanizing yourself. Like, you're literally creating a structure of permission because you most likely are not inherently abusive or assertive, or I mean, this frozen Gestapo, they're straight up terrorists at this point, but they didn't start there. Nothing starts 0 to 60. It always starts like if you want to like boil a frog, you're not just going to throw the frog in boiling water from the get. It's going to freak out and it's going to come out. So what you do is you start raising the temperature. So that's what's been happening too. So the people that are being deported are being incredibly traumatized. I mean, they have been stripped of any type of dignity or humanity. And that's my point. That the people that inflict that cruelty are getting traumatized by inflicting that cruelty. And even though they don't want to admit that it's having an effect on them, I promise you, the body keeps score. And you can only do so much evil before you lose yourself and lose touch with reality. And that's exactly what happens in a lot of in history, in a lot of the dictatorships that have been studied in history. You see a citizenry that appear to be more than willing of dehumanizing and doing the most abhorrent, cruel things to other human beings just for the sin of being from a different country. Like, that's what I'm trying to get to you guys today. That is not a crime, that is being human. And I truly hope that the people that are inflicting this pain, when they are finally forced to reckon with their own vicarious trauma, because trust me, all of those screams, unless you're a complete antisocial, malignant narcissist, all of those screams, horror, looks of horror, curse words, all of that stays with you, and at some point it's going to emerge. And I promise you, there is no reason to be this cruel. There's no reason why these people are getting fed food with maggots, getting their head shaved, being thrown in areas where you can only sleep 10 and you're throwing 40 people in a cage where they are rotating in order to be able to lay down for a little bit. They're not receiving medication, they're not receiving medical care, none of that. And what is the reason? I mean, I can't justify treating any human being that way, not even Jeffrey Dahmer. But shit, even Dahmer had it better than all of these immigrants. And the thing is, the biggest culprit are the Christians, which makes no sense to me because Jesus Christ was from the Middle East. He was brown himself. He was a migrant himself. He was an asylum seeker himself. He was subversive. He was a leftist. He literally went against every construct of his society. So I don't understand which Christ these people follow, because it's definitely not the one that washed the feet of his apostles and told them to go clean the leprosy and all of that. I honestly don't know what spirituality these people follow and where their moral clarity is, because again, I don't have anything against having border and border security, but there is no reason to be throwing people in concentration camps. There's no reason to be sending people from Honduras to freaking Nigeria, where they have no connection to. There is no reason to be blowing boat in the middle of the Caribbean just because somebody has a hunch, you know? But all of that trauma eventually will pop up. Because again, the trauma doesn't only hit the victims, it also hit the perpetrators. Look back in history and see how many people from the dictatorship in Russia, from Stalin, how many of them took their lives when everything was said and done. Same with Nazi Yahtzee Germany. A lot of them pew pew themselves, and they, that little capsule, and went out that way because they couldn't reconcile the moral injury, the PTSD of what they caused, versus having to live day to day with the knowledge that you were an integral part of that. And there is no immunity when the time comes. And it actually breaks my heart, because again, just because somebody is a migrant doesn't does that deserve cruelty? The fact that you believed on a nation's broken promise, that that deserves stripping you of your family, of your human dignity. Does that require punching, hurting, shooting? Like, seriously, is that where we're at? And I pray that all of you that became part of the frozen Gestapo, that you are able to reconcile all of the horrors, that you are committing. I remember me. Yes, Alan, I remember you. The last time you were not too nice. The last time, if I remember well, can't remember why were you sort of like being a little mean to me. I don't. Again, there goes my ADHD. Goes to show how relevant. But yeah, um, yeah. See, I can't remember. I remember the name, and I remember engaging, but don't remember much of the context. Again, when I do these videos, I kind of like try to. It's difficult for me to stay, as you guys can see, to stay on topic and all of that. But Alan, remind me, what was it the last time? I forgot what was the question, or what was your concern, or collaboration. Enlighten me, because I can't remember. But yeah. Oh, and yeah, today again, for those of you that joined a little bit later, today we were talking about the effects of inflicting trauma to others. See, you're like me, we can't even remember. That's what happens when we get out of pocket online, or we start getting into non-productive arguments or conversations. But yeah, no, yes, that's right. You were on my last live. That's right. That's right. Yes, you were. Thank you, sir. Thank you. This is your second. That was your question. You wanted me to tell you when my next live was dropping. And I told you that I usually don't follow a schedule, that I'm a little hypomanic, so I'll throw a flurry of videos out, and then I'll take like a quick break for a couple of days, and then you'll see a couple of flurries. But I did ask you, Mr. Allen, if there was a particular topic that you would like to explore. I am open to that. For all of you in the chat, I am open to requests. But anyway, what I was talking about today was how the whole migrant situation here in the United States has sadly made the people that are part of ICE or the frozen Gestapo devolved into dehumanized bots, paramilitary bots at this moment. And I was trying to explain to people that that is a trauma response. When your job requires you to start stepping over the line of your own morals and your own moral compass, you start suffering trauma. And you might not be aware that inflicting trauma is traumatizing you, but again, the body keeps scores and eventually it will manifest. And I was just kind of posing the question to the channel that I understand. Again, my family are law enforcement and military very heavily. So I understand the need for law and order. What I don't understand is why can we do it humanely? Right? These are migrants. They're not hardened criminals. You know, these are not Tim McVeigh. This is not Jeffrey Dahmer. This is not these are not serial killers that this frozen Gestapo are apprehending. These are working people, families that are trying to thrive, that have the same dreams that you and I share. Do we have to beat them up? Do we have to unalive them? Do we have to put them in concentration camps in cities and countries that they have no connection to, and feed them rotten food and commit all kinds of abhorrent behaviors like raping them and all of that? I'm sorry, but that's not the way you run a country. And the United States has devolved into full-blown fascism, and it's very sad. Anyway, as I always say to all of you, to my top subscribers, thank you for coming back. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, lift each other, take care of each other in your communities. That's the only way we get through this. Bye.